Hey, what's going on, you guys, and welcome back to the channel. We're going to dive straight into it today. We've got some stuff to look at on a broader consensus, and then we'll go over and look at some specifics surrounding Terra Luna Classic and what I really believe the chain should reset its focus towards these two things specifically. But like I said, before we get onto that, we will set the scene. And as always, starting this video off with my meme coin portfolio specifically over on MEXC, and I'm doing very well with Pump.Fun at the moment, and I honestly think it has only just begun. I'm someone that rode Ponky way back in December a couple of years ago, from its initial launch all the way up to its all-time high, and I just feel like Pump.Fun is the next big thing without a shadow of a doubt. Going over and looking at the chart, looking at some technical analysis, it's quite obvious that this thing is primed, it's ready to explode, and it is wanting to go higher. And we've now got this pole and flag structure. As I say, we're getting that strategic move upwards, and now all of a sudden you've got that big push. You're above the area of resistance, and now hopefully this is essentially going to become a line of support over time. But right now we've clearly got a symmetrical triangle playing out on top of that pole structure that it has just played out. So like I was saying, this thing's looking very bullish from my perspective, and it is one of the biggest holds that I've got currently. I tightened my belt like a lot of people before the initial crash came in, so I was well set and I'm ready to start reinvesting. But again, just dollar cost averaging into some other stuff that isn't meme coins. But honestly, guys, I really do think this is the play going into the end of 2026 and then into Q1 of 2027. I'm very hyped about this one, but I'll keep you guys up to date as my meme coin portfolio changes. Haven't bought anything, haven't sold a coin. I'm here, I'm holding strong, and I'm not burying my head in the dirt like an ostrich. Now, the SEC is being very outspoken at the moment, which is great because the new SEC chair, Paul Atkins, is supposed to be pro crypto, but we haven't really seen much coming out of the SEC. But from my perspective, no news is good news when it came down to the SEC, because as we know, Gary Gensler absolutely hated crypto and he was doing everything that he could to ensure that it was being bottlenecked. Now, the SEC is scheduling meetings for crypto-specific investment rules outside of the Clarity Act. And on top of that, you guys, they're also thinking about making stocks 100% 24/7 tradable. And that's in the United States. And this is part of these streamlined disclosures that they're saying about here. But on top of that, you've also got the CFTC, which is saying it's prepared to advance crypto regulations, even if Congress fails to pass the Clarity Act. So on top of having the SEC very outspoken, you've also got the CFTC as well. I keep saying this to everybody. We're living in different times, and if you don't know who the CFTC is, they are the Commodity Futures Trading Commission. I'll leave a link in the comments section for those of you that want to go in and check that out. It's definitely a thing that you should know, you should be up to date with, because they are a body which will be able to, yes, regulate crypto outside of Congress and these acts that they're trying to pass. If you managed to catch my previous videos, you would have heard me say that we are walking into an era that is going to involve people like Google, people like Samsung, people like Apple, your banks, any real major industry player. For all intent and purposes, 10 years from now, your local grocery store could be offering some kind of cryptocurrency cold wallet, or even a hot wallet, or they might even have their own CEX. We just don't know how things are going to evolve. But one of the things that I'm starting to learn is Samsung, Apple, Google are already moving towards the introduction of cryptocurrencies into their already existent wallet structure. And for Samsung, that's Samsung Wallet, as many of you will already know. And they're now adding stablecoin accounts and cross-border payments this year. This is huge news because it's going to push cryptocurrency in general out to the broader masses. And what a lot of people should probably understand is now isn't the time to change. If you've got a good product in crypto, if you are able to offer people safe, secure, cold storage, well, then you're winning. You're providing an area that people can retreat to as a lot of these CEXs that are unable to regulate drop out and things become very insecure unless you're going to somewhere like Samsung, like Apple, like Google. But things like Terra Luna Classic is a good example. This is a blockchain that is decentralized, has no central point of control. It can't be attacked in the same manner that other ecosystems can be attacked. And yes, it's a safe haven of many different kinds. But this is huge. Samsung is the all and everything when it comes down to mobile devices. And the other half of the all and everything is Apple, and they're already pushing towards the idea of having stablecoin accounts, cross border transfers, in store payments, and a lot of things that are essentially going to drip feed crypto into people's lives. Guys, this is huge news. When I woke up and I saw this in the headlines, I thought, wow, what better of an example to show you guys that what we were talking about previously is already in effect. We're already walking into the era of broad adoption. And a lot of people are simply unable to just be patient enough to wait for these things to happen because we are all part of a very small percentage, and Samsung is going to bring in the remaining percent. Apple is going to bring in the remaining percent. It's going to be hilarious 10 years from now when a lot of people suddenly realized that all they needed to do was buy some cryptocurrency, knuckle down, and just wait it out. I mean, we're all going to be alive for X amount of years. We're all here each and every day. It does baffle me to say the very least. But let's go over, let's now look at Terra Luna Classic, because I said to you guys, this was a pattern that essentially is either going to break out, we're going to get a big move upwards, or we're going to get a rejection and we're going to move down. And then there's probably going to be another chance down here on the very low end of the possible support line that I've drawn out. There is another opportunity to push upwards. From my perspective, if this is the scenario where we're going to be pushing back down, there is another opportunity for us to break out again. We're going to need to start to think a little bit more outside the box and understand that we've introduced a change which could be positive or it could be negative. And it seems like we make a change and then everyone's like, well, great job, everybody recesses it in, and now let's all go about our business as if the chain has suddenly been fixed. And it hasn't. We've merely changed a very simple parameter, which conclusively becomes very complicated for a lot of projects. As you guys know, I myself, I've taken my Pengs project and I have been removing it from the ecosystem because it's simply unable to run. So because there is this negative effect, well, the community, the ecosystem, the validators should start to think about what is really current. What can we do next? What do we really need to focus on? And from my perspective, a lot of things from my perspective today, but I truly believe that we should focus on two things. We need to figure out how we're going to equalize the voting power situation, how we're going to prevent the validators that have become a very in control of a substantial amount of voting power, which isn't fair. The ecosystem shouldn't work like that, and we shouldn't be essentially touting any kind of it's diabolical that we would introduce new validators and allow new validators to come on board and become very lofty in voting power through illicit means. And we've made it viable for them to buy a lot of Terra Luna Classic, self-stake it, because they're going to be getting a darn lot out of our ecosystem. And this is all inherently a huge problem. And there are many factors that involve this problem. But if you going to go in and you're going to solve it, well, really, there's two validators that have become a very lofty in voting power, All Nodes and Dutch LUNC. So they are the only two validators that can essentially vote against any kind of voting power cap. Because if you think about it, every validator below them is in a position where they're nowhere near, and they're never going to get near, having that much voting power. So they are going to be very supportive of any kind of voting power cap which introduces some kind of equilibrium, some kind of even, play, if you will. Everybody's got a fair shot. So those validators are going to support it. I myself would support a voting power cap, and that is essentially what I'm working towards at the moment. And the only two validators that are going to say no is All Nodes and Dutch LUNC. And them two collectively do not have enough voting power to prevent us from doing that if all of the other validators support it. They do not have enough voting power to no with a veto, and that means they cannot bypass that vote. It's quite obvious that we need to do that, and we've needed to do it for a significant amount of time. Going on to point B, and again, this is very obvious. It's something that should have been done a very long time ago. And it is going in and it is burning the remaining 8 Trial Exhibit P301 wallets, which can be done very simply over the course of 7 days, because that's how long the governance process takes to either say yes or say no. And if it agrees and the validator set says yes this time, these funds would burn instantly on that proposal passing. No ifs, no buts, no coconuts. These assets would burn. And you're talking around I think it's around 6.20% of the total USTC supply that we could go in and burn. Going back now and really saying to ourselves, should we really do something else on top of making the burn tax change? Yes, this wasn't a finish line. This wasn't a great huzzah and, oh, we've solved the issue. No, we haven't even started. And everybody is again out there, oh, nobody's doing anything. No, we've tried to do stuff. Many of us have tried to. I've been trying to do this for so long now. And the SEC themselves, from what I understand, looking at other people that have gone through this process, it could take years for them to get to the point of taking all of my data and then actually harnessing it to go in and burn these assets. And by that time, the court case is going to be over with the SEC. So it's going to be done and dusted. Creditors, lenders, everything's going to be tickety-boo. Right? And the chances of the SEC then going in at that point and burning these assets is slim to none. And we have been told, and we've been given permission by Chris Armani, the person who was responsible for all of these wallets you're looking at now on your screen. He told us in the official TFL space that they held to go in and burn any assets that they leave behind. Why? Because they were unsure who has access to those wallets. So you've got two things that you could go in and you could essentially chase up within a matter of a month, at the very least, to run two proposals to solve point A and point B. But why is nobody out there chasing any of this up? Why is no other validator out there trying to solve these kind of issues? You tell me, what do you think, guys? Let me know in the comment section. That's really all I've got for you for now. If you want to see a bigger move upwards, if you want to see something come in of substantiality, we need to feed the ecosystem. We need to feed the bulls. We need to feed the traders. We need to give a little to get something back. And giving, in my opinion, comes from solving point A, centralized voting power, and point B, TFL's remaining illicit funds. Because I really do think, and this is going to be the saddest part, is there'll likely become a day when someone who was part of TFL realizes they're in a jurisdiction where they can access those remaining TFL funds, they can sell those funds, and nothing can be done. Can't chase them up. No extradition. No, nothing. Can we fix it at that point? No. We can only look back and say, wow, we should have supported the proposals that Jay had put out with his data and his research, which shows and indicates that there is a substantial portion of USTC and LUNC remaining. And that's not even going in, guys. And adding how much LUNC TFL has clearly left behind on Binance, on top of the 2.8 billion USTC that is remaining on Binance that belongs to them. And that really comes after we've solved those remaining 8 Trial Exhibit P301 wallets. And once we've solved this and the centralized voting power, then we could go in and we could start to really push a case towards Binance to say, we need answers. And the only person who can give us those answers is you. But I don't know, what do you guys think? Aside that, stay safe, stay humble, stay aware, and I'll catch you in the next one.